I'm sure you remember that bird flu outbreak that happened. I think it was in April where they had to destroy 8.4 million hens with regard to some bird flu outbreak that happened, and it caused our egg prices to get extremely high. It got like to what, $9, $10, $11 a carton, for freaking crying out loud. Well, it looks like we're at it again. How the recall of 20 million eggs could affect U.S. prices. This is from Newsweek. So it looks like that our egg prices are about to start shooting upward again. You know, I don't remember this happening very often back when I was a kid, or hell, even back before even COVID was even an issue. I mean, egg prices were pretty consistent for my entire life, at least so it would seem, until just in the last few years. I'm not saying there's any grand conspiracy going on or anything like that. It's just got me skeptical is all. For eggs to just shoot up to over $10 a carton this year, and that's not the only time. It was back during COVID too when egg prices were skyrocketing too. I think they were blaming that on trucking shortages and whatever they were dealing with supply chain issues during the whole COVID era issue, the nonsense. But yeah, so I'll go ahead and get through this article real quick. It was published, I believe it was just yesterday that this came out. Yeah, June 18th, 2025 at 5 o'clock a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So let's see here. The recent salmonella-linked recall of 1.7 million dozen, which translates to about 20.4 million eggs, it could drive prices significantly higher, according to one expert. We just finally got eggs down to a fairly reasonable level, and frankly, they're still not down to the level that they really should be. Look, I shop at Aldi because I don't make that much money. I try to save every penny that I can possibly save because it's hard out here, and the grind is tough. And part of the grind is involving the ability to budget and save money anywhere you can. So I shop at Aldi. That's where I get my eggs from. And the egg prices over at Aldi are still almost $4 a carton. They're like $3.80 a carton. And when they spiked, they hit like $7, $8 a carton, something like that, just in the last couple of months. But historically, for Aldi, they're only like $1.50 a carton before this whole April debacle happened with the whole influenza thing. So, I mean, at least from my perspective, or at least in my area, or where I shop at, they're still twice as much as they otherwise had been before this whole bird flu thing happened. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know if this is just some excuse to try to keep egg prices high and just to keep punching us while we're still down. I don't know, but I guess I'll just assume that what they're saying is correct, and it's very unfortunate. They linked salmonella to a whole bunch of eggs, and now we're going to get stuck with high egg prices again. Whether if it's an excuse for them to drive them up or not, I don't know. But anyway, I'll just go on with the article. This is not good news. North Carolina State University economist Mike Walden told Newsweek, lower egg supply will increase egg prices. Walden estimated that the recall could see prices rise by 25% across the affected regions. So it's not going to go up 400% or 500% like it did back in April and May, and what we're still technically still dealing with. So why does this matter? The price of eggs, already seen by many as a barometer of inflation, has become a political flashpoint this year. President Donald Trump blamed the increase on Joe Biden's policies before taking credit for the more recent price plunge. Why's price plunge? Yeah, I don't know if Trump was saying that, but egg prices, yeah, they might have plunged over the last month, but they haven't plunged historically speaking. They're still twice as much as they were a year ago, at least from what I've seen and what I've spent my money buying eggs at, which was at Aldi. I mean, I don't know, maybe it's different for different regions. I'm sure it is different depending on where you live in the country, but I mean, at least where I'm living, the eggs, they should not be costing damn near fucking $4 a carton. Pardon my French. Widespread outbreaks of avian flu took a significant toll on production, leading to nationwide shortages and pushing prices up to record highs. While far more contained, the latest recall, prompted by fears over salmonella contamination and impacting 9 states, could offset some of the declines in cost that have been seen since March. And there's the egg recall map, which is sparking warnings in 9 states. There's one egg recall in Indiana. They only have one single egg recall, but they're still going to triple the price of eggs, even though that one single egg that they just dropped it in the trash can. But they still are going to use that as an excuse to skyrocket the cost of eggs. But I'm obviously joking. It's not one single egg. It's just one recall, probably one company, I would assume, or, one egg laying facility or something like that. Nebraska one, Wyoming one, one. Looks like it's one for everybody. One recall per. So 1-to-1. That's the scale. So let's see here. So what to know? On June 6th, August Egg Company announced a voluntary recall of the brown cage-free and certified organic brown eggs over fears of salmonella contamination. So they're doing it out of paranoia. So there might not be any eggs that are contaminated with salmonella. I mean, they're doing a voluntary recall. It's not like the government stepping in. The USDA is saying, nope, you got to issue a recall because we discovered this or discovered that. So, I mean, I'm not saying they're strictly doing this out of choice, but it just seems awful convenient to give the egg companies an out in order to jack up the cost of eggs. It's almost like they got a taste of some real serious profits during the quote unquote egg shortages we were dealing with this spring, and they want to keep that sweet ball rolling. But I'm half kidding, of course. I'm not being totally serious with that statement. So, don't take that as the gospel truth. That's just an opinion of mine. So let's see here. So according to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, the eggs were sold by multiple brands, including Walmart, between February and May across 9 states: Arizona, California, Illinois, Indiana, Nebraska, Nevada, New Mexico, Wyoming, and Washington. The CDC said the eggs could be tied to the salmonella outbreak that has infected 79 people so far this year, and that FDA inspections at the August Egg Company found that samples of salmonella found in the eggs were closely related to those seen in the human cases. Okay, so there is some actual facts to back up this recall. So the true number of sick people in this outbreak was likely much higher than the number reported, and this outbreak may not have been limited to the states with known illnesses, said the CDC. Joseph Balaktis, professor of agricultural economics at Purdue University, told Newsweek that the impact of the recall on prices would likely be limited, given the 20.4 million affected eggs represent, quote, tiny fraction, end quote, of the more than 8 billion produced each month. So we really shouldn't see an increase in egg prices then, if that's really the case. For context, he said that the price spikes earlier this year were a result of an egg production shortfall of about 1 billion with a B because of outbreaks of highly pathogenic avian influenza, or HPAI, in February. And like I said earlier, they had to put hens to sleep, egg-laying hens. They had to destroy them, euthanize them or whatever. I think the word is culled, CULLED. I think that's technically the term that they use when they have to put a whole bunch of hens to sleep. So, yeah, I mean, hens, they don't just lay one egg per hen. Obviously, they lay tons of eggs. So 20 million, now that we've heard that, it really shouldn't make that much of a difference. It sounds like Newsweek is just, being a little rage baity. But anyway, he added that any noticeable upward pressure on prices would likely be masked by the recent decline in the cost of eggs in the U.S., according to the Consumer Price Index reading released by the Bureau of Labor Statistics last week. Egg prices dropped 2.7% in May, following a 12.7% decline in April. However, prices are still up 41.5% from the same time last year. So the whole issue with the the bird flu outbreak, maybe it wasn't in April, it might have been in March. Maybe it was even in February. Maybe it was further back than I remember. But the number I believe that I did read was around 8 million. I actually read that recently, and I also thought they said it was in April, but maybe it was earlier than that. But we all know what I'm talking about, the whole debacle with egg prices going up, over $10 a freaking dozen earlier this year. So let's see here. Where was I? However, prices are still up 41.5% from the same time last year. Yep, that's what I'm talking about. And I'm sure we all know that. Now, there are some people out there, they do have short-term memory loss, it would seem. And some people may not realize that, yeah, eggs are not supposed to be as expensive as they are right now. They shouldn't be costing me $3.50 to $4 for a carton of eggs. They actually should only be costing me like $1.50. And that's kind of on the high end. I think it should be probably around $1.19. I actually save all my receipts for everything. So maybe I should dig out some receipts and see if I can get a look at how much eggs were costing me at Aldi back in, let's say, December or November. I bet it wasn't over $1.50. I know it wasn't. So anyway, what are people saying? August Egg Company in its recall announcement, quote, "It is important to know that when our processing plant identified this concern, we immediately began diverting all eggs from the plant to an egg breaking facility which pasteurizes the eggs and kills any pathogens." August Egg Company's internal food safety team also is conducting its own stringent review to identify what measures can be established to prevent this situation from reoccurring. "We are committed to addressing this matter fully and to implementing all necessary corrective actions to ensure this does not happen again." I'm sure it's going to happen again, dude. It happens. Sometimes salmonella happens. Let's just hope it doesn't happen for a very, very long time. Because if there's anything that we could use a break from, it's high egg prices. Because it doesn't just affect the carton of eggs that you buy in the store, it affects anything that eggs are a part of. Whether if it's mayonnaise or Miracle Whip or freaking deviled eggs or I don't know, like anything that's got egg product in any kind of egg products, your croissant, which is a Burger King for crying out loud, whatever eggs are in, it's going up. So hopefully all those prices start coming back down, but we'll see. So let's see. Joseph Balaktas, professor of agricultural economics at Purdue University, go Boilers. "By removing eggs from the market, the recall will put some upward pressure on prices, but I expect the magnitude of the price effect to be small, perhaps imperceptible in the context of day-to-day fluctuations in prices." So what happens next? August Egg Company said that it has stopped selling fresh shell eggs for the time being and urged consumers to return those with the plant code numbers listed in its recall to the place they were purchased for a full refund. The plant code numbers for the recalled eggs, all right, y'all ready? You might want to pause the video. If you're listening to this for some reason and you're not watching it, about to give you the serial numbers. For the recalled eggs can be found printed on the package and are, you ready? You got the fridge open? You got the carton in your hands? You ready? Look closely. It's either P, as in Peter, Paul, Petunia, dash 6562. Just one P, not three, just one. P dash 6562. Or CA, as in the abbreviation of California, CA 5330, with Julian dates from 32 to 126, the FDA said. The Julian dates are codes of 3 to 7 digits and represent the date that the food was packaged or manufactured. And I believe that's the end of the article. Yeah, that's it. So, yeah, so check out those plant code numbers and see if you by chance have a carton of eggs. I don't think you know what? August Egg Company does sound familiar. I would doubt that they sell them in Aldi, but it wouldn't really ultimately matter in my case, even though they said it's possible that one of these contaminated eggs could have found its way into another state besides the ones listed on the map. It's probably unlikely that there's one, at least here in my state, which is in Florida. So at least I hope not, but I don't know. It's gonna, I guess, yeah, you could take your eggs back and get a refund. Sure, you could do that. I think most people would probably just not bother and they probably would just end up throwing out the eggs. But I don't know if I could bring myself to throw out some eggs. I mean, I will if I'm at risk of freaking salmonella. I definitely don't want that. Talk about ruining your weekend. But anyway, let's just hope that the prices don't go up too much. I mean, compared to the last outbreak, I mean, he was talking over 1 billion eggs that we really didn't ever see because they had to put down those hens. So that's 1 billion eggs worth of a shortfall that the market didn't get, which is why our egg prices shot up to the moon. So we shouldn't see anything nearly as bad with this recall. Matter of fact, right before I end this video, let me just take a quick look and see if he's actually accurate with regard to 1 billion eggs. So that'd be 1 billion. So that's 2%. That's only about 2% of the number of eggs that we lost in the avian bird flu, whatever the hell it was called, outbreak earlier this year when our egg prices went to the freaking moon. So yeah, really, I mean, this shortfall should really only affect like a nickel, maybe a dime, if they're being fair to the public and they're not using this as just some blind excuse to just throw egg prices up another $1 or $2. I mean, I don't know, man. Companies get greedy. That's capitalism for you. But anyway, that's all I got. See you later.